Welcome back. So we had been looking at lists. So there are two videos which I created, which you might have watched before. We covered basically something about comparison operators. We started with the list. We started with defining lists. We also looked at accessing elements of a list, and then we looked at slicing lists, right? So getting pieces out of it. Now I'm going to talk about, so we have been seeing lists till now with as a list of strings, right? Fruits, friends and all that. But you should not go with an impression that this can only contain strings. Lists can have any type. You can have integers, you can have floats, booleans. It can even contain other lists, right? So a single list can also contain different data types. So in the same list I can have integers, booleans and strings and everything put together, right? So we'll start off, I'll show you a few of them, and then that will help you to understand and assimilate this. So you're back to our terminal. I can start with some integers, then early integers. Let I say I can have 2, 5, 4, 6, 78, 102, 32. It all works, right? So if I can look at this. So this is list. If I see a type of this, okay, I can easily look at type of this. Right there, that's a list class, right? So now I can also do a list of floats. I'm going to say FLTS 2.5, 3.14, 55.22. I can do 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. I mean any float, right? I'm just giving these as examples. So now if I look at type TS, it's a list. So irrespective of what the content is, right? The content inside the list could be any data type, could be a integer, it could be a float, maybe tomorrow next you'll see booleans too. Anything, it will still be the composite data type is still list, right? Doesn't matter, change with what is inside, at least the type. There'll be other things which might change, but the type does not change. It's always a list, right? I'll also do a list of floats, sorry, list of booleans, booleans of the world equal to true and false. So if I look at the type of this, I'm just going to use arrow keys, type, again a list. Now remember, in a list you can repeat the same values again and again. Lists will not stop you from doing that. So I have used two booleans here because generally only two boolean values, true and false, but you can repeat them, right? So I can always say bools repeated equal to true, false, again give a false, then true, true, false. This all works. Now if I look at the len of this, 6, right? So repetition is allowed in a list, right? And you can do repetitions of integers, floats, not just booleans, right? You can repeat anything. List allows you to have duplicates in it. Please remember this. You will find it handy when you look at other data types, other composite data types. Okay. Now let us mix it up, right? So I'm going to say mix it up to, I'm going to have a couple of first ones were integers. Now I have a string and then I have a float, again a string, then maybe I will do a integer, float, and this should, now if I look at the type of the lists, right? You can add in booleans too if you want. So I can do mix it up more and add, say I'm going to 0 is false, so I'm going to add a false in front and maybe a true at the end, and that also works, and it will obviously have the, what is the type of this? It will be list again. So you can even have another list, right? So I can have super, so I'm going to take my mix it up, which is already there. I'm going to add super mix it up because I'm going to convert this into a list like this. Now when I do this, so this now, this one has a integer, a float, a list itself, strings. I could have put booleans too. I just thought there's anyway a lot of them. So now let us look at length of mix it up and super mix it up, right? So len of mix it up is 8 because you can see mix it up has 1, 2, 8, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now what do you think will be the length of super mix it up? I type in super, try to guess, it would be 6. Why? It seems to have the same set of numbers, right? But there is a difference. The 4, 5, 6 is actually a list. So for the outer list, it's actually one item, right? So the items on the outer list are 1, 2, 3, and the list called 4, 5, list having contents of 4, 5, 6, that's one item for it. It's not 3 items. For the inner list, there are 3 items, but for the outer list, there is only one item. So that's the 4th item, then 7, 8, and 9. So 5, 6. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, why did I get 6? Yeah, sorry, because 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6 is 1, 4, right? And 7 and 8. I don't have 9 here, so I got an 8. Cool. Remember this. Each item, so whatever, even though you have a list in a list, the inner list is just one item for the outer list. So don't allow yourself to get tripped with this when you work with list of lists. So there are surely more data types possible in this, but I think you got a good idea now. We know you can create a collection using list of almost anything with lists, right? So you can create a collection of anything. Now I have mixed it up here, but in actual development, you don't really mix up different types of data in the same list. Generally, you will have a list of strings, like we did earlier, right? A fruit list or a friend list, or a list of integers, or a list of floats, whatever. You don't generally mix things up in regular development. I have not done it because it's easier to work with, because then it's, when you want to take items from the list and do some processing, if you mix things up, you don't know what to expect and it's very difficult to work with that. So generally you use only one type of data inside a list. Now list of list also is possible, right? So list can contain lists, but within the inner list you will still find the content is uniform. You will have a list of integers or list of floats. That is generally the case. Keep this in mind. So you can mix it up, but don't. Okay, now let us look at, so we have been we declare lists, we accessed, changed and all that. But you generally, you make friends and you make new friends, or you might lose a friend because you traveled to a different location. So you need to be able to add to your friends or remove from your friend list, right? So adding and removing items from a list is a very common operation people do with lists. So let us look at that. Now I'm going to clear this up. Let us look at, we have worked with Tenali's friends, so let us do Bhimasen's friends, right? Now I actually don't know too many Bhimasen's friends, but let's take his brothers as friends, right? Your brothers are friends for you, right? So Yudhishthira, you might spell Yudhishthira differently. I'm going to go with this. If you want to change it, that's up to you. So these are 4 of his brothers. So that's Bhimasen's friends, right? So you got a list here. Now Bhimasen did get a friend eventually. You know who that is, right? He got Krishna as a friend. Okay, so I want to remind you of something. We saw this before. We looked at something called method calling in one of our previous sessions. So we had a string called Tenali, and we did print of s dot upper, right? Now this was capitalizing the letters. So I said I can manipulate a data type, in this case string, by calling a method on the data type, right? So I called a method on string data type. So many of these data types have methods that can be called on them to manipulate them. String did this. String has other methods too. Now our list also has a lot of methods, right? It can, obviously it might be different methods from string, because you don't want to uppercase a list, right? It doesn't make sense. You can have a list of numbers, what will you uppercase then? So but a list has methods which allow you to add Krishna to Bhimasen's friends, right? So this method is called append, right? I will now show you append, how append works. Append, the word means you are putting something at the end of the list, right? Adding something at the end. That's exactly what append does in Python 2. Okay, let us clear this up. This is our friends. Now I'm going to say Bhimasen's friends dot append. You see that? Thank you, PT Python. Krishna, and then now let us look at Bhimasen's friends. There you go. Now append worked and you got Krishna as one more friend in Bhimasen's friends, and it was added at the end. Let us get a bit naughty and let us add one more friend. I know this doesn't. Now I said I am going to be naughty, right? So append worked, and now Duryodhana is a friend of Bhimsen. Obviously that is wrong, right? Duryodhana has never been a friend of Bhim, right? So I need to remove this friend, right? This item from the list. So now I will use a different method. So we did append. I want to remove, so I will use remove. That is easy, right? So I am going to do remove now, and I am going to add, because this is what I want to remove. If I do this, and then again I look at Bhimasen's friends, Duryodhana is gone. So we corrected our mistake, right? We used remove to do that. Now there are other ways to delete items from a list. I have shown you remove. There are many other ways, but one is good, right? One is good to start with. and there are a lot more methods in lists. So what you can do is you can go and get to the documentation. So I'm going to search for Python documentation lists. Now if I go here, I can go to Python. So here, not this one, we don't want this, we actually want the first one. So here, yeah, there you go, append. You have extend, insert, remove. Remove and append is what we saw, but a lot more methods here, right? You should always go and look at this documentation, and sometimes you might look at it just to learn. Sometimes you might, when you want to solve a problem, you go and look up the documentation and look for a method which will help you solve that problem, right? That's the way you learn. You try to solve problems and use documentation to find these solutions. Okay. As usual, at the end, I'm going to ask you to do something more. What I'm going to ask you? I'm going to ask you to use the append to add Duryodhana, Draupadi, and Duryodhana again, right? Now, list allows you to have duplicates, right? So you can do this, and then you try to call remove of Duryodhana, right? Guess what will happen, and then you should try it out and see what happens. You try, you do, you learn. Okay, the last topic for this video, we will look at some operations, list arithmetic, right? So we'll go with our first operation, which is plus, right? I mean, we did a lot of addition before, so that's probably our favorite operation, maybe multiplication, but we'll start with addition. So we have Tenali's friends and we have Bhimasen's friends. Now, what happens if I add them up? Great. So I got back a list of friends of both, right? That's what. So the more a developer term for this addition is actually concatenation. We saw string concatenation. Here it is concatenation of lists, right? Now we want to check if the original list got changed. Let's just check that. Let's look at Tenali friends. Oh, that's not changed. Great. And then let us look at Bhimasen's friends. That has also not changed. Great. So the plus operator creates a completely new list and then copies over the contents from the old list into the new list. So I'll show you this. Now if I change the new list, will it impact the original list? Let us see. So I am now going to take this and I'm going to assign this to all friends, right? This is all the friends. So let us look at all friends. That's got everybody. Now this is a new list and we have two Krishnas in this list, right? So obviously the first value refers to Krishna Devaraya, right, the king. But this is confusing because we have now two lists. So let us reduce this confusion. I'm going to use the indexing method and change the value of this list, right? Let's do that. I'm going to say, so Kali is on index 0, Gundappa on index 1, Shada on 2, Krishna, the first Krishna is on index 3, which I want to change. So I'm going to say 3 equal to, and I'm going to assign a new value, Krishna Devaraya. Done. Let us look at all friends now. Great. I have, you can see the Krishna getting cut, second Krishna. That's better. So now you can see that the fourth position element or the index 3 element is Krishna Devaraya and the last one is Krishna. So now the main thing I wanted to see was whether the original list got changed. Let us see that. So Bhimasen's friends, obviously we didn't touch anything in this. We will touch the first Krishna, right? Let's look at Tenali friends. Maybe something changed there. Nope. The original lists are not affected. So this proves that the plus operator creates a new list and copies. It doesn't affect original list. This is generally a good thing. It means that things don't change unless you change it explicitly. That's always a good thing. But let's look at the next operator, probably your favorite, the, the asterisk, right? So let us start with this time. What do you think will happen? I think you would have guessed that. Repetition, right? So let me just try this. So it repeated both the elements again and again, right? So again, I can always, let's take Tenali's friends and I'll repeat them. Repeated friends. See, you can see now the 4 friends which Tenali had got repeated, and therefore now there are 12 elements in this, right? And you can see Krishna. Oh, didn't we change it to Krishna Deva? No, we changed it in all friends. We didn't touch Tenali friends. So again, if you look at Tenali friends, nothing would have changed in that. That is still a 4 element list, right? So again, a new list got created, and with new content, the original list did not get changed. Now, in list arithmetic, we saw plus and asterisk or multiplication, that is concatenation and repetition, right? And you might be tempted to think that there will also be a minus and a slash. No, it does not. um, Python does not try to assume things. So now when you try to do some things, it doesn't try to be over smart. It expects you to be explicit. It wants to be more um, clearly understandable and predictable in how it works, right? So with respect to plus, it was clear you are trying to, the meaning is sort of clear that you're trying to add these two things up, so it just concatenates them. And into 3 is you are trying to repeat. This is very clear. But dividing a list can be done in many ways, and Python may not be very clear on how to do it consistently. So you don't do division, you don't do subtraction too. If you look at it, lists are acting very much like strings, right? And you will see the similarity uh, down the line as you become a more uh, get into this developer journey of Python. You become a bigger or a more friendly with Python, and you develop a lot of things with Python. You will see the similarity coming through in many cases. I think we'll stop here. It has been quite long. We'll take a break. We'll come back and finish off with whatever else we want to cover with lists. Catch you again. You can use comments to ask your questions. Meet you soon.